In this bulletin, strong words from Bill Shorten at a Christian conference. More girls kidnapped in Nigeria. And Adventist pastor Litovchenko released in Ukraine.
This is InFocus Christian News and Current Affairs.
Hi, it's great you could join us for this week's edition of Record in Focus. Coming up after the news bulletin, I'll be chatting with the Australian Christian Lobby's Lyle Shelton. He's in recovery mode after last weekend's national conference. And Danielle, you're catching up with Trafford Fisher?
I certainly am, Kent. We're going to be talking about the effect of having kids on parenting. Does it drive us closer together or further apart?
Or drive us up the wall.
Yeah, probably more to the point. All part of the fun of family life, guys, isn't it? And Kent, you're interviewing, I should say, an island princess, is that right?
Nearly, not nearly. She is the president's daughter, though, the president of the Marshall Islands in the Pacific Ocean. It's just one of the many low-lying island nations that are having their very survival threatened by rising sea levels.
Wow, sounds completely interesting. Kent, can't wait for that. But for now, it's off to the news.
Let's do it.
Thanks, Kent. Australian opposition leader Bill Shorten has used the opportunity of a speech at a Christian gathering to reiterate his support for same-sex marriage.
When I hear that people allege that God tells them that marriage equality is the first step to polygamy and bigamy and bestiality, I cannot stay silent. I simply do not agree.
Speaking at the Australian Christian Lobby National Conference, Mr Shorten said Australia's current marriage laws are discriminatory and should be opened up to include same-sex couples. According to news.com.au, Bill Shorten and his Labor Party colleagues have agreed that a conscience vote would be appropriate if changes to the Marriage Act were to come before Parliament. And although the Liberal Party has previously voted against same-sex marriage in a bloc, there's discussion about them allowing a conscience vote in the future. And later in the program, we'll be chatting with Lyle Shelton from the Australian Christian Lobby about the conference. A former Qantas employee is taking the airline to court over what has been described as months of bullying over her choice to wear a crucifix. According to the Herald Sun, Georgina Sarakoudis says she wore a crucifix on a necklace with her Qantas uniform for 19 years without any trouble. But when uniform changes were introduced late last year, her superiors began to insist she remove the necklace. Ms Sarakoudis says it's discriminatory that religious headscarves are allowed as part of the Qantas uniform, while other visible expressions of belief are not. Qantas says employees are welcome to wear religious jewellery so long as it's out of sight under their uniforms. The tribunal hearing is continuing. Australian Prime Minister Tony Abbott has officially opened new facilities at Sydney Adventist Hospital. Flanked by both the federal and New South Wales health ministers, Mr Abbott was effusive in his praise of the Adventist Church, the hospital and its place in Australia's healthcare system. Stage 1 of the major redevelopment project includes a new maternity wing and new operating theatres, as well as significantly increasing the hospital's bed capacity. Future facilities include an integrated cancer centre and an expansion of the hospital to cater for 300,000 patients per year by 2024. Sydney Adventist Hospital is well known in Sydney's northwest and has been in operation since 1903. A study of more than 5,000 Americans has demonstrated a strong link between sugary soft drinks and accelerated ageing. According to The Guardian, the researchers found that those who reported a high intake of fizzy drinks had the chromosomes of people 4.5 years older. The researchers are quick to say that their study does not yet provide definitive proof. But they say that the spike in blood sugar from soft drinks and associated oxidation and inflammation is the perfect storm for increased degrading of the DNA.
You know, you might be a 20-year-old or a 25-year-old, but if you're aging your cells faster, by the time you get to 25, you might actually have the cellular degeneration of a 30 or 35-year-old. You might compare yourself to somebody else who seems to be happy and healthy and functioning well and going, how is it that they can play squash and not end up with an injury, whereas as soon as I step onto the court I end up tearing a muscle or, don't sort of have as much energy as I had before.
An ambitious mission trip to Solomon Islands has seen a rural high school transformed with running water, reliable electricity and other vital infrastructure established. The team of Adventist adult and youth volunteers from around Sydney worked together with locals at the Tenakoga Adventist High School. In just 2 weeks, they ran 1.5 kilometres of electrical cables around the campus and 1.4 kilometres of water pipe, as well as installing a boys' ablution block, a new generator, water tanks and roof guttering.
Personally, I've eaten the best food. I haven't got sick, I've lost weight, my muscles are all rejuvenated and my head's rejuvenated, and in fact my faith is rejuvenated. And they wonder why I come over here. And they're asking whether I'm going to come back. I'd get down on my hands and knees and beg to come back. That's how important it's been to me.
Hopes for the soon release of more than 200 Nigerian schoolgirls have been dashed after reports of the abduction of 60 more women and girls, again apparently by the extremist Boko Haram militant group. According to The Guardian, the kidnappings occurred in towns near Chibok, the home of the mainly Christian girls who were abducted in April this year. Government officials say they're still trying to confirm the details. And in a separate incident, armed men attacked 2 churches in Taraba State, Nigeria, killing 31 people, including 2 pastors. According to Morning Star News, survivors say this is the 7th Boko Haram attack on Christians in their local area since February. The place of Christians in Israel is under scrutiny after the Israeli government allowed Christians to officially define themselves as Aramean rather than Arab. The controversial move has the support of a vocal minority of Christians, including outspoken Greek Orthodox priest Gabriel Nadaf. Father Nadaf says local Christians need to reclaim their original culture and identity as speakers of Aramaic, the language of Jesus, which was spoken for centuries before the Arab-Muslim invasion. According to the Christian Science Monitor, most of Israel's Christians disagree. They say it's important for Israel's Arab minority to stand together, both Christian and Muslim. In a reminder of an often forgotten chapter of Christian history, the remains of 2 church buildings have been unearthed by archaeologists in Russia, not far from the Kazakhstan border. According to Live Science, the stone churches were found in ruins of the ancient Mongol city of Ukek, which was established by the grandson of Genghis Khan in the 1200s AD. The Mongol Empire was famously tolerant of different religions, including Nestorian Christianity, which had already been established as far east as China in centuries before Genghis Khan. A number of Christians held positions of influence in the Mongol Empire, and judging from some of the artefacts found in Ukek's Christian quarter, some were quite wealthy. And still in the region, good news from Ukraine, where abducted pastor Sergei Litovchenko has been released after 20 days in captivity. Pastor Litovchenko was taken by unidentified armed men in late September while he was serving communion at the Horlivka Seventh-day Adventist Church in eastern Ukraine. Adventist News Network reports that Pastor Litovchenko is in good health and that his congregation and family members are saying thank you to everyone who has been praying for him. Church leaders also say that prayers need to continue for believers living in areas of conflict around the world. And that's the news for this week. Over to you, Kent.
Thanks, Danielle. It's nice to have a good news story for a change, isn't it?
It certainly is.
Stay with us. I'll be back in just a moment with Lyle Shelton and Politics in Focus. See you in a sec.
Discover some of these artists from Salter Music. Anna Weatherup.
Oh, people get ready for the train to Jordan.
Castles in Air.
Like watchmen wait for the morning light.
Eric and Monique.
You alone are my strength, my refuge.
Sapphire.
His love
reach the bottom of the ocean.
No matter what shade of musical taste you have, you might just find something that sings to you. It's all waiting to be discovered at saltermusic.com. Fresh and exciting original Christian music from Salter Music.
So you think you've got your future all planned out, right? Or maybe you're not sure yet. What you want to do, who you want to be. A great education matters. Avondale. It's education designed for life.
Hello, welcome back. And joining us now from Canberra is Lyle Shelton from the Australian Christian Lobby. You've been busy, Lyle.
Yeah, just a little bit, Kent, but we've had a great weekend.
Okay, now Lyle, we heard in our news bulletin about Bill Shorten's shot across the bow on same-sex marriage at your national conference. The mainstream news media was certainly all over that, but surely there were other worthwhile issues raised at your conference as well.
Yeah, that's right, Kent. I mean, the opposition leader took the opportunity to make known his views on marriage, which obviously is a view that we don't share. Unfortunately, he said a few things, though, that weren't really representative of the way Christians have conducted themselves during the debate. And I was able to say to him that I'd never heard anyone use or invoke the Bible or God in the way that he described. And he seemed to accept that. He certainly didn't argue with that when I put that to him during the Q&A session afterwards. So that was a little bit disappointing that he said those things. But nonetheless, we're very thankful that he took the time to come and to engage with what we think is an important constituency.
Okay, and other important issues?
Look, the other issues that we talked about were Indigenous recognition. We had the Shadow Indigenous Affairs Minister, Shane Newman, and I agree with Shane in that there is unfinished business in the Constitution, and he spoke very passionately about that and urged us all to get behind the campaign to have a referendum sometime in the future where we can set this right in our Constitution. We talked about religious freedom, we talked about refugees. I was able to ask Mr Shorten about the need to double the refugee intake. He was non-committal, but I get the sense that he's sympathetic to that cause.
Okay. Now, Lyle, for a little while there, it looked like the viability of your conference was threatened when activists started targeting your venue, the Hyatt Hotel there in Canberra, on social media. But I've got a tough question of principle for you about that. Had the Hyatt decided not to take your booking, would you have defended their right to do business according to their values, which you've admitted are different from your organisations?
Look, it's a free country, and if they had decided to do that, we would have had to respect that choice. But really what that would have amounted to is a shutting down of free speech. Now, that's something we would never agree to as an organisation. We would never want to shut down freedom of speech. That is a basic human right. And Christians would never do that, and we would never advocate for that in any way, shape or form. Had the Hyatt acceded to the vitriolic campaign of hate against us, they would have been essentially shutting down free speech.
Food for thought. Okay, thanks for your time this week, Lyle.
Thanks a lot, Kent. Thanks for having us.
And now it's over to Danielle Sinnott with Family in Focus.
Thanks, Kent. Well, they say when you have kids that they come cheaper by the dozen. Trafford Fisher is with us. Trafford.
Hi, Danny.
Is it true?
It sounds like it. Well, about a dozen.
Not in monetary terms, perhaps.
No. But seriously, I've got to share with you something exciting this week. They did a study in Scotland. Now, whether that translates to Australia, although I want to share with you some Aussie research as well, but in Scotland they did study 10,000 households, so it wasn't a small study, over 15 years. And they found that having kids improves married couples' life satisfaction.
Wow, and nothing to do with the porridge?
No, nothing to do with the porridge at all. No, serious. They found that having kids improves a couple's sense of life satisfaction, but it tends to have a bit of an effect on their marriage satisfaction. So their marital happiness goes down a tad, but their general life satisfaction, and the more kids they have, the happier they are.
The
which
more
is just,
they have, the happier
really
they
strange.
are. Wow.
It's just fascinating. And I've got to share this. I've got some stats here for you. Okay. It said men who have kids are officially happier than their childless mates, but surprisingly the same cannot be said of women. So it seems this was particularly relating to men. Now, the Australian Unity Wellbeing Index reveals that men are their happiest when they have 3 children.
3 children.
So there's 3. Then they said men with 4 children report greater well-being than men with just 1 or 2 kids, with the exception of fathers who only have daughters.
Ouch.
Daniel, this is really interesting, right? Fathers of 4 girls are notably less happy than men who have 4 boys or a combination of sons and daughters. I mean, this is most intriguing. Now, I have one of each, so I have one. Yeah? Well, I don't know.
Why is that? Why are the boys so important?
The Melissa Weinberg in this study, she's from Deakin University here in Australia, and she sort of speculates on this. And she said it's difficult to know why this might be the case. She says why dads with a house full of girls find it more challenging. And it says they tend to be less healthy and report having a lower standard of living. What's happening down here? And I think she might be onto something. She says they may be feeling they have less to offer, less knowledge to pass on than when they have a son. Right?
Yeah, which would make sense, wouldn't it?
I think what she said,
fixing a car together, a sport.
This is how you mow a lawn, son.
Yeah.
This is how you fix the lawnmower. She said the results were consistent with other studies which showed men spend more time with their children if they have at least one son. Yeah. So maybe it's this sense of, the father-son thing. I can pass on my great knowledge to my son. But what can I teach my daughter? I'm not real good in the kitchen. Look, that sounds a bit gender-biased, but I don't know. How else might we understand this? I'm intrigued by this. I think it's fascinating.
It is certainly very surprising statistics.
It's really interesting. What's also of interest is that, and I think it's understandable when couples have a lot of children, it can really impact on the marital happiness because it's a lot of stress. Yeah. But that sense of life satisfaction, that needs more homework. We need to study that some more.
Yeah, that's right.
Isn't that intriguing?
It would, and it'd be interesting to take that, I think, into the grandparent stage too, see what that has to say. Yeah. Thanks for being with us, Trav. Some awesome information on how many kids. Stay with us. We'll be right back after the break.
Want to know the answers to your deepest questions? Log on to discoverycourses.com. 15 totally free courses discuss spirituality, lifestyle, archaeology and health. Make your personal discovery today at discoverycourses.com.
The media targets our goals with destructive messages. But is there an alternative? Yes, it's Gigi. Gigi is a great new magazine for teenage girls that uplifts good Christian values. Finally, a way to pass on our values in a way the teenage girls in our life will love. So give a subscription to a teenage girl you love today. Visit gigimagazine.com.au. That's gigimagazine.com.au.
Hello, welcome back. Well, I'm a bit excited today because I have in the studio with me the daughter of the President of the Marshall Islands, Miss Milang Loyak. Welcome. Thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me.
You were involved in a story we reported on just last week in our news bulletin, the Pacific Climate Warriors who were in Newcastle there blocking the coal port there as a protest and an action to do with climate change and rising sea levels. Can you explain to me how you got involved in that?
Well, I think it went back 2 years ago when a bunch of friends back home called me over to participate in this activity that 350 was organizing locally in Madra, which is the capital island of the Marshalls. Mm-hmm. And since then, I've been learning more about the climate movement and getting more involved in 350 activities back home. That's really where everything started for this action that we did on Friday.
Mm-hmm. So 350 is a global sort of climate change awareness organisation, is that right?
Yeah, 350.org is an international global organisation that deals with, at a very grassroots level on bringing awareness to the climate crisis and moving forward with the climate movement.
You use the word climate crisis, which is pretty strong language. In the Marshall Islands, do you have evidence of climate change?
Yes, the Marshall Islands has been facing more frequent floods, especially in the southern islands. In the northern islands, we've had droughts that have affected so many lives and so many homes, and the floods in the south have washed through people's homes and destroyed their homes and left them displaced. My friend, one of my close friends, for instance, she lost her home earlier this year due to king tides that hit some of the villages in Majuro, the capital island of the Marshalls. And you know, she was telling me that often whenever she would go to sleep, she would be lulled to sleep by the sounds of waves coming in. And then she couldn't believe that within less than a day, the waves just came crashing across her home and then totally obliterated it.
Wow.
It's a very small country, very comprised of very small islands. So they're coral atolls, they're flat, they're barely 2 meters above sea level.
So every centimetre counts then, doesn't it, when the sea level starts rising?
Yeah, it does.
So other similar countries, I think, you know, Kiribati, Tuvalu, Tokelau, and other coral atolls in other Pacific countries, people are being relocated and evacuated out of those countries and moving elsewhere. Is that a threat to the Marshallese people?
More people have been migrating to the States, but that's partly due to climate change. We've had people migrate to the States for other reasons.
Economic reasons, family, okay. So 350, the organisation you're working with, isn't a particularly religious organisation, it's independent. But I understand from meeting some of your colleagues that a lot of them do have very strong faith, and they see that their beliefs are tied up very strongly with their involvement in these environmental activities. Do you see that connection yourself?
Yes, I do. I see it every single day. You know, our cultures in the Pacific, they're very similar in that they're very rooted in faith, they're very rooted in love and respect. And whenever you bring a bunch of Pacific Islanders together, that's what we share, that's what we experience. So every single meeting we've had so far since we've come to Australia, there's always a prayer. Before the action on Saturday or on Friday, we had a prayer. During the day of action, we also had another prayer. We put God in the center of everything that we do. And our faith as Islanders, as Christians, it's very strong. You can see it every day when you're around the Pacific Climate Warriors.
What about environmental activism, though? Because some people might think that, you know, getting politically active like that, but participating in a protest is a very un-Christian thing to do. What convinced you and your fellow Pacific Warriors that this was actually something that was consistent with your faith?
Well, because these are our homes. This is a culture that might be gone for a long time if we let climate change keep going and if we let these climate impacts continue. And we're here strongly for that reason, because these are our homes. We do not want to see them gone. And I believe we have a culture that is so beautiful that we can share with a lot of people around the world. And that's what drove us here. You know, there were risks that were involved during the action, but I think we were more fearful of the risks that would happen, that would take place if we did not stand up and do something about it.
Yeah. Do you think it was effective? I mean, I was there. I watched the flotilla of small boats managed to slow down a large ship, you know, exiting the coal port there for maybe about half an hour, and then, you know, the police cleared the way and off it went. From a practical point of view, obviously you didn't stop the fossil fuel industry, you know, that day, but do you think you've been effective in some ways?
Yeah, you know, the flotilla might not have made even the slightest bit of difference to the mining companies, but I think we really did have an effect on a lot of people that were there. You know, there were moments when everybody got emotional, and then the next moment you're all singing and dancing, and I felt that the culture that we brought here was beautifully displayed that day. And I think we were ineffective in the ways that we reached out to the local people here, and we touched somebody's lives by bringing what we believed in, our cultures and our sense of, unity together. And just getting a lot of support from the local communities. I feel that was a result of what we've done. So, yeah, I think we were effective.
Okay. What's the message that you'd like to get across to Australians, to the rest of the world, about your situation in the Pacific Ocean and about climate change?
We're here for the Pacific Islands because the Pacific Islands is in the front lines of climate change. But I just want to remind everybody that this is not a fight that we stand with by ourselves. This is a fight that involves everybody. Climate change affects everyone. Not one country is not affected, and I just want to remind everyone of that, and just to encourage everybody to take action, make better decisions, and just join the fight because it's a common fight that we all share.
Wow.
Yeah.
Hey, thanks so much for your time. I really appreciate you coming in to see us.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
We'll be back straight after the break.
Who is Jesus? A 6-part exploration of the life and the teachings of Jesus Christ. In this series, we'll look at how Jesus helps us understand issues facing us today, such as pain and healing, how we treat each other, worry-free living, fear of the future, and the kingdom of God. That's our quest, to come eye to eye, if you will, with Jesus, the real Jesus.
Every week, It Is Written is available to millions of free-to-air viewers throughout Australia, New Zealand, New Guinea and the Pacific. It Is Written's Gary Kent regularly takes viewers to the far corners of the globe to report on new evidence and discoveries that confirm the Bible and Christian beliefs. It Is Written also provides medical care to remote Pacific Island communities. Join Gary Kent each week for It Is Written. See television guides and the It Is Written website for broadcast times. It Is Written with Gary Kent. It really is television that changes lives.
Welcome back. Well, that was an interesting interview, Kent, but I noticed you didn't really get into the climate science debate too much.
Well, no. I mean, there wasn't really time, for starters. And secondly, I'm not a scientist, and neither is Milo.
Fair enough.
Yeah, but, the fact is, Danielle, sea level rises are real. They're very real for places, like the Marshall Islands. The people there are feeling the impact, and that's undeniable.
Yeah, absolutely, Kent. And, it's pretty clear that a majority of scientists see a connection between human activity and climate change. And I guess even if they're wrong, it wouldn't do any harm to reduce pollution. And, there's a lot being pumped into the atmosphere.
Yeah, why not? Do the world a favour.
Yeah.
Hey, thanks for your company this week. We're always open to dialogue on climate change or any other issue we've raised in the program. You can email us, of course, at letters@infocus.org.au.
Of course, or stay in touch via Facebook or Twitter. Of course, the details are right there on your screen. Until then, we'll see you next time on Record in Focus. All the best.
God bless.